How's it going, film review fans? Welcome back to another video on the Off the Cuff Film Reviews YouTube channel. Today we're doing something a bit different, more of a commentary video. The last one I did was about why I don't like Wonder, but this one's a bit more topical, revolving around the industry as a whole. Now, if you don't know, recently it was announced that the Batgirl movie was going to be shelved by Warner Brothers. Initially, it was set to release on HBO Max this year. It went into production a few years ago. It had the directors of Bad Boys for Life and Miss Marvel as the directors of it. It had Leslie Grace as Batgirl. It had Michael Keaton in it. It had Brendan Fraser in it. And it's very clear that everyone involved put their heart and effort into it. And Warner Brothers recently just shelved it. Now, I don't like Warner Brothers, but that's for towards the end of this video. But I think what I really want to talk about here is what my personal thoughts are on this whole thing of the movie being cancelled. It's actually, for me, kind of like looking at it from a perspective, it's worrying because the studio spent $90 million on this movie. Okay, so you know they spent the money, and what's interesting about it is that at the moment, recently this year, Warner Brothers was purchased by Discovery. So there's a new leadership team who didn't spend the money on Batgirl. So the previous regime spent the money. The movie is nearly finished. It was in post-production. It still was in post-production until it was cancelled. So the previous regime spent the money. So we got on $90 million, which at the end of the day, when you look at it, it wasn't exactly going to be the best movie in the world. And I can understand why people are like, it wasn't going to be the best, and it must have surely been really bad if they decided to cancel it. All that stuff, that's fine. That's what you want to think about it, that's fine. But I'm not thinking about it as if the quality of the movie. I'm thinking about it as that every movie ever made, there is always one person, no matter what job they are, whether they be assistant to the director or, you know, director of photography, you know, catering assistants. There's always one person on every movie that wants to put it all into and say, I'm going to make this the best movie I can, even if I know it's not going to go. I'm going to try my best, my hardest. And that's the person I feel the most sorry for in this situation, because they have had what they probably worked the hardest on taken away from them because of a tax write-off. That's what it's been recently said, that it was due to a tax write-off, not because of the quality of the movie, because they wanted to write it off, which is a really disgusting tactic, because not only, like I said, does it really feel bad for the small people who put their heart into the movie, it's also bad for directors and people who want to make their movies, and they say, oh, Warner Brothers are giving me a contract, this is going to be really good, I'm going to, you know, be able to make a proper movie and properly put it out. But if I were to be in that position, I think, oh well, given this status of this at the moment, would I really want to make my movie with Warner Brothers if they would spend the money, have the movie finished and done pretty much in the can, in the post-production process, and then actually all of a sudden shelf it? Like, would I want to run that risk of them cancelling the movie because they didn't believe in it, even though they gave me the money to make the movie? That's who I feel sorry for. Those directors who get given money by Warner Brothers, don't ever get much creative control, don't get much of a budget, still make a brilliant product, but get it stripped away from them by a company who just isn't very good. They're like the EA of cinema, and I really, really don't like Warner Brothers because they have terrible business tactics. They've completely destroyed DC Comics. DC movies are in a complete shambles at the moment, but that's not for me to talk about what kind of is, but that's not the main focus. It's the Batgirl movie that was cancelled recently, you know, and it's one of those things where, for me personally, it's a disgusting business tactic to have a movie pretty much finished and shelf it just because you wanted to write it off. It's disgusting. I've always had Warner Brothers, and it was one of the reasons why, as I mentioned in my review yesterday, I was not very happy at Doom winning all the awards, because, don't get me wrong, Denis Villeneuve, great job, great director, but to have people like that stuck behind such a horrible company is really bad. And I'm not going to sit here and say every movie that Warner Brothers has ever made has been terrible, because that's not true. They've made some amazing movies, Just Mercy, Richard Jewell, you know, so much great content that they've put out there, so many fantastic movies that they've made, but to have all of that just come from such a disgusting company is not what I'm a big fan of personally. And I just feel sorry for the small person, you know, those small people who put their all into said movie and have it stripped away by a greedy company that really doesn't care about the consumer at all. They are not having a good image at the moment, and I, for one, don't like giving them money. I have given Cry Macho as another example of a movie. I went and saw that in the cinema. I thought it was a good movie, but they're currently not doing too well with Clint Eastwood either. They're apparently cancelling his next movie because Cry Macho wasn't profitable, and they don't want to make movies like that. So that, for me, is a big bad signal coming from such a big company that, in my humble opinion, is the worst studio out there. I think there are so many better studios out there that are so much better at making movies, and being well there with the which is why I'm really happy that recently it was announced that Daniel was the duo behind Everything Ever All at Once, recently signed a contract, not with Warner Brothers but with Universal, one of the better studios out there in Hollywood, and I'm so happy that they get to continue their output with a studio that will actually be there to help with them. And obviously another person who's recently left Warner Brothers is of course Christopher Nolan, which is not fun to hear, but he made the right decision leaving such an incredibly bad company, and for me, I'm glad he's moved over to Universal, and that makes me happy to see his next movie, Oppenheimer. It's already Universal giving him the money, they will give him his control, and why Warner Brothers give him creative control? Because they know they're making money. Just being stuck by such a horrible company. I remember him talking all about it when Tenet was coming out, that he really didn't like their tactics of pushing movies straight to HBO Max during the pandemic, and I can completely agree with him like that. Like, some of the tactics back then they did was basically just pushing everything to HBO Max no matter what, and even that's going down the pan at the moment, which is another reason why I think they recently cancelled so much stuff like that, because they're merging it with Discovery Plus. Who the fuck knows or cares what Discovery Plus is, but that for me is what is the big issue. Discovery Plus is not Discovery. Everyone thought when Discovery took over that it would mean that Warner Brothers might get back on track and might actually be able to do rather well, but evidently that's not the case, because they're cancelling stuff left, right and centre. They've, in a recent release with the where the head of Warner Brothers was talking about other DC projects, he didn't mention Aquaman, but he mentioned The Flash, which is another interesting subject to talk about relating to WB, in that they're willing to cancel a movie that has so much diversity behind it in Batgirl, but they're openly going to let a movie starring someone who is very much a criminal at the moment and done some terrible things in a Predator, let that movie go ahead, which is just like, it's a disgusting situation to do with Ezra Miller and all that stuff. It's horrible, and the fact that they're willing to shelf a movie, while it wasn't exactly the best, but it was full of diversity and a diverse cast and crew, but they're still willing to let a movie like Flash, which is headlined by one of a massive predator at the moment and a horrible human being, is disgusting. And I think that I for one will probably still end up giving Warner Brothers my money, but I will be very reluctant to, and it will probably play into my actual thoughts of said movies that I watch, because I really like I said, Warner Brothers have made some brilliant movies. Goodfellas is another one, but they are not a good company at the moment, and in recent years they have been just not doing too well, and it's a shame, because Warner Brothers, like I said, been behind some of my favourite movies like Goodfellas, Richard Jewell, Just Mercy, so much good coming out of Warner Brothers, but it's sad, because I like companies like A24, Lionsgate, Sony are not exactly the greatest company, but their film division certainly handles their film creators much better than Warner Brothers do, which is why I don't like seeing Warner Brothers movies that much, because like I said, I think this is a horrible situation for everyone involved, and for everyone to put the effort into the Batgirl movie and then for it to just be shelved, it's like I said, the worst part about it is other directors who might want to make their movie with Warner Brothers and make it, spend the money, and then Warner Brothers just say, no, actually we're not going to release it because we don't want to. It's just like, I'd be very reluctant. I've always been reluctant with Warner Brothers, and I would not want anyone to have to go through that same thing that the directors have gone through. They've made a statement since I've taken a while to make this video, since it all went down. So the directors have made a statement, the actress playing Batgirl has made a statement, and in all honesty, it's just a shame that it's being wasted on a company who doesn't deserve to have such a lucrative. They shoved Snyder out the door, which, say what you will about Snyder's movies, he still is a good director, and he knows what he's doing, and he had a vision for the DC Comics world, and now that DC Comics world is completely basically destroyed, and it's disgusting to see, really, and it does upset me. But it's just one of those things where unfortunately it's out of our hands, because such a disgusting company is involved with it. And for me, that's what really is the worst about it. Such a company that is horrible business practices, terrible management, and just it needs to go. Warner Brothers is not my favourite. You know, they've not made the best movie. Space Jam: New Legacy was not the best. I won't lie. You know, the Lego Movie, that was a great movie, but the Lego Batman movie, that was also a good movie. You know, they've made some good stuff, but those people have all been under, you know, serious amounts of control from the heads, which is not good. Anyway, thank you so much for watching my thoughts on the Batgirl movie and Warner Bros. As a whole. Like I said, I feel the most sorry for the directors and those small people who put their all into Batgirl, hoping it would be their greatest success. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye for now.